What's the definition of healthy to you, and how will you use that definition to make food choices?
Over the last year, food prices have increased by 2.3%, following an increase of 3.7% in 2023. Rising inflation rates have made it increasingly difficult for nutritional foods to be attainable. According to the USDA, in the last year, 18 million families experienced food insecurity. Due to this, many families rely on schools to provide nutritional meals.
Meals should consist of 5 components: a vegetable, fruit, grain, protein, milk.
What you put in your body is the most important thing.
We know there is a connection between quality meals at schools and quality learning.
Because of this, the President should provide more funding to the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs in order to increase the nutritional value of school meals. Let's take a look at one of the top 15 largest counties in America and see how they run their food system.
Montgomery County Public Schools is one of the largest school districts in the country.
We have our own in-house food making facilities, so that's why we're able to have so much control over the menus.
The USDA puts out these dietary guidelines for Americans, and then the Food Nutrition Service kind of makes those guidelines applicable to school meals.
In terms of nutritional value, I'd say that we're a little bit above standard. I've been able to tour, the Department of Food and Nutrition Services, and I just think, they're able to do a lot with very little.
Between 2020 and 2022, a USDA waiver allowed school systems across the country to provide free meals for students while also receiving higher reimbursement rates.
So a reimbursable lunch, for example, could be pizza, which has the grain and protein, and then for it to be considered reimbursable, it needs to have a fresh fruit or a vegetable.
We also, work in a federal reimbursement program where we're, getting maybe $4 per meal, but that includes all of our labor, all of our paper products. By the time we get to how much we're actually paying for the food product, it's not much.
After the waiver expired in June of 2022, school systems now struggle to meet the high cost of producing a lunch.
It's a very tough operation because the per meal reimbursement is very tight.
You can't go anywhere and buy a full meal for $4.20 or whatever the federal reimbursement rate is for lunch and have that staff being paid.
According to the School Nutrition Association's 2024 School Nutrition Trends Survey, just 17% of respondents indicated that the federal reimbursement rates were sufficient to cover the cost of producing a lunch.
We are lucky in the fact that we're so large, that we're serving so many students, that we can negotiate lower prices because we're buying in large volume.
The smaller rural counties have a really hard time. They don't have that purchasing power that the big counties do, that they can get big contracts for fruits and vegetables.
I just want for us to zoom out when we think about the kind of poverty that exists in our country.
In some cases, judges have threatened to send kids with lunch debt back to foster care.
Eric, who's from Wilmer, Minnesota, recently shared how he struggles to provide for himself and his sibling. Concerned about providing enough food to eat, he was grateful for the meals his siblings can get at schools.
If you could look at 2 meals that met the meal pattern standards from different parts of the country, and they will look drastically different.
According to ProCare, Maryland is within the top 15 states with the healthiest school lunches in America. However, Idaho, Wyoming, and Louisiana have similar reimbursement rates to Maryland, yet are still ranked the top 3 states with the worst quality of school lunches. This is due to the lack of access of farm fresh produce, an issue that more federal funding could resolve.
That extra funding really enhanced what school districts are able to do with their school lunches.
More funding is always going to be helpful.
The reimbursement rate of NSLP and SPP are simply insufficient for many states. With help from the government, schools all across America would be able to improve the nutritional quality of their school meals.
So the question is, who is responsible for providing students with nutritional meals?
It is partially a school's responsibility.
It is the responsibility of government not to provide necessarily, but to ensure that every student has access to a nutritional lunch.
I think the adults are another piece of the puzzle, so parents and teachers as well.
You want the federal government, the state government, all these, entities to help prop up and to give some of our tax dollars to these beneficial programs.
We all play a part in ensuring kids all over the country are well fed, but the government needs to take the first step.
With increased federal funding, schools across America would have the ability to meet higher food costs and continue to provide students with school meals. The School Nutrition Association's 2024 position paper seeks to permanently increase federal reimbursement rates for the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs, as even pre-pandemic data shows that federal reimbursement rates were not enough to cover food costs.
This is as basic and fundamental as it gets, and guaranteeing a meal to students should be part of the promise that we have for our children.
It's a national security issue to have hungry people, hungry students.
According to the USDA's School Nutrition and Meal Cost Study, Volume 3, in 2014 through 2015, for the average school food authority, the mean reported cost to produce a reimbursable lunch was $3.81, compared to the average federal free lunch subsidy of $3.32.
Providing our youth with accessible and healthy food is critical to the health of our nation. Reforms to school meal programs should focus on giving schools the ability to provide healthy, locally produced meals as much as possible.
The President should provide more funding to the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs. This will allow school systems across the nation to afford the cost of reimbursable school meals and increase their nutrition.